Why is my classic Mercedes part NLA? There are times when you call needing a part, such as the throttle mounted firewall bushing for my friend Adam's 300 TD that I service. I call Mercedes and they say the part is on NLA or on back order. Now, what do these two terms mean? Back order means that the part is being produced or that Mercedes has no intention of discontinuing the part. There's just a gap in the supply chain. NLA means the part is no longer available. Now, let's explain these two terms. Back order means at some point in the future, probably within the next year, the part will be available again. NLA means it's no longer available, but that doesn't mean permanently. Some stuff that was NLA actually did go back into production for some weird reason. Mercedes supposedly has a list of items that they keep that are going to go back into production, like this 123 300 1340 throttle shaft bushing that I need, which is currently in LA, will probably be produced again sometime in the next 2 years. Same thing with the oil filter housing gasket for 240D and 300D. It was in LA for 5 years, and then suddenly they're back in production. They look different, but they're the right application. Now, why do parts become no longer available? Well, there are a multitude of reasons. The first one is that Mercedes had a problem with the supply of the part. This occurred with head gaskets for M130 and M100 engines, where L-Ring stated that they would not produce the quantity that Mercedes requested of 500, instead demanding a minimum quantity of 1,000. So Mercedes stated that they would prefer to find another supplier, which is what they're working on. Another one is that the manufacturer closes shop. This was the case with R129 keys. Mercedes is trying to find another manufacturer for these keys, but right now they have to label them NLA because they have no manufacturer. These keys were made by a company which either went out of business or got bought out by another company and said, we're no longer going to do this anymore. A third one is lack of market demand. So recently I needed an oil cooler shield for an 87-300 SDL. That part's been gone for 20 years. I'm not going to find one anywhere. It's gone. And there's not much demand for it either because most people ripped those shields off, forgetting the fact that they protected the oil cooler from road debris. Now there's a fourth reason that parts go NLA, and that's because manufacturers choose to devote their manufacturing capacity to something else. With millions of crappy, horrible, junky cars being churned out by manufacturers all across the globe, subcontractors for automotive parts such as Federal Mogul, or the Tech Doc Group, or ZF, or Bosch are starting to run out of manufacturing capacity, and so the first thing to go are low demand classic parts. These parts are instead supplanted by high demand, easy to manufacture, crappy, low quality, high turnover, low cost, high profit margin garbage that goes into the Volkswagens, BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Ferraris, Jeeps, Fiats, Teslas. Did I say Volkswagen already? Oh yeah, Volkswagens of today. These parts are robbing capacity from small volume manufacturers that specialize in classic parts, meaning that Mercedes has had to buy some of the manufacturing capacity to make this stuff. If you think that Mercedes is not committed to making classic parts, you're wrong. But the reason is not because of goodwill or kindness. It is because of money. Now, why is this? Well, first of all, the margins in classic parts, particularly for pre-1972 Mercedes, are extremely high, such as an airbag for a W109 or a set of brake rotors for a 280SL. $250 a brake rotor. I kid you not, but they're the only good rotors in the market unless you could find some new old stock parts. The insane markups that Mercedes gets for these parts ensures that suckers like us will keep buying them because we don't want to put garbage on our cars. I'm not calling myself a sucker, but I'd still rather have the $250 Mercedes rotor than the $10 Chinese rotor from WorldPack. I just won't put the Chinese rotor on. I want my car to stop nicely. And it ensures that Mercedes will keep making classic parts because they make more money selling all the parts to restore a 280 SL than they do selling 3 or 4 CLAs. Just so you guys know. The next problem that we run into with classic parts has to do with the lack of communication between Mercedes-Benz, particularly Classic, and their constituents, who are us, who depend on them for parts supply. The biggest problem is that Classic Center bosses such as Michael Kuntz literally just don't give 3 SHITs about supplying classic parts to people. They supply parts based on the availability of the market, the value of the cars, such as a 300 SL versus a 190E, and the ability of the manufacturers to say yes. So this is all a money situation, of course. A 300 SL is more valuable than any other Mercedes-Benz on the planet, except for like a 540K Special Roadster. And the end result of this is that we are going to end up having to pay Classic whatever they want to charge for that part, whether it's their 300 SL or 190E, to make it profitable. I've had some people try to contact Classic, and some people even email Michael Kuntz directly, and Kuntz has gotten back to them either with apathetic emails saying that the part's not going to be produced, or that it's in production but we don't know when the part's going to be arriving, or that they're doing their best and leave me the F alone because you have a 190E or something similar. Pete Engel, I'm thinking of you. The real quandary about this, though, is whether or not Mercedes can get the manufacturing capacity, because they do have a master list now, and they do have customer service representatives who are interested in the parts we need for our cars. There's a team of 2 people that collects this information, make sure it gets on a list, and make sure that the part gets reproduced. So the most important thing you can do is keep badgering Classic. I'm not joking. Keep bothering the heck out of them for which parts you need. And eventually the request will make it up to Mercedes-Benz. It does work, you know, and they are looking at the cars and what market values they have, as I said in one of my earlier videos. The truth is, though, that I have nothing to say about Mercedes that is bad. I think they're doing their best in the face of capacity shortages for parts manufacturing, and I think that they're doing a really good job keeping the parts prices of maintenance items sane. So that throttle shaft bushing that I requested is $50, and a little under $50, and will probably sell for under $50 when it's new. In fact, it's nice that we don't have to pay $150 for it, you know, because Mercedes could pull a Martin Shkreli and charge whatever they want for their classic parts, which, you know, they don't do, but they do have to make a realistic profit. So as long as Mercedes is making a profit and they're making high quality parts in the EU, I'm good with it. I'll pay $250 for a brake rotor. Some of the lower line stuff can be purchased by ATE and Limford and other stuff for 126 and 123 cars, and it's the same quality. And those are the cars that I'm really concerned about parts going away for, the young timer stuff. So if you have a young timer, you should be communicating with Mercedes Classic Center about the parts you need for it that may not be available. And I encourage you to attempt to buy parts from Mercedes. Even if you don't like the price, you should at least inquire about the price instead of going to eBay or some of these other places, because then Mercedes knows that the part is actually in demand. So anyway, if you enjoyed this long-winded video about classic parts, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you. And try your best to maintain your Mercedes with good parts and not Chinese garbage. And in the meantime, if you have any questions about certain parts, part numbers, etc., please leave them below in the comments, and I will get back to you. And I'm trying to check comments about 24 hours after videos post. So if I don't respond to your comment, then and you have a question, then feel free to contact me. Okay. Anyway, enjoy driving your Mercedes-Benz. Have faith in the system. It all works. Take care.